Every morning, she displayed the same elegance, arranged flowers with the same delicacy, greeted customers with the same gentle smile. Eleanor's flower shop was the most peaceful place in town. Lavender scents, pastel colors, soft classical music. No one could guess that Eleanor's hands didn't just handle roses with perfect precision, but much different things as well. And that day, during the terrorist attack in the city center, everyone would learn who Eleanor Whitmore really was. Every story you're about to hear was earned, not given. Welcome to Earned Stories. Tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. And if you believe stories of invisible heroes like Eleanor deserve to be told, don't forget to subscribe. Eleanor's flower shop stood on the corner of Main Street. The Blooming Grace sign was written in faded pink letters. Fresh flowers always filled her window display. White roses, purple orchids, yellow daisies. Inside was small but warm, every corner filled with colorful blooms. Eleanor Whitmore was 67 years old, with gray hair always pulled back neat and tidy. Her clothes always perfectly arranged. She had run this shop for 35 years. She watered her roses, talked to her orchids, gave special attention to every flower. Customers loved her, kind, patient, understanding. And Eleanor, the neighbors called her. Never married, no children, an elderly woman living alone. She opened the shop at 8 a.m., closed at 6 p.m. Sundays, she went to church. Weekdays, she never left her flower's side. Customers thought they knew Eleanor very well, but none of them actually knew her past. Where she came from, how she became a florist, why she never married. When these questions came up, Eleanor would smile and change the subject. On the second floor of her house was a room, always locked. Eleanor only entered that room at night. Inside were old photographs, medals, certificates. None of them belonged to Eleanor Whitmore. They were all issued to Sergeant Eleanor Hayes. 30 years ago, Eleanor had lived a very different life. She was a sniper in the U.S. Army, Afghanistan, Iraq, covert operations. Eleanor, nicknamed Ghost, had 300 confirmed kills, a marksman who never missed. Her teammates respected her. Enemies feared her. In retirement, she had wanted a different life, changed her identity, became a florist. Death replaced by life, violence by beauty, war by peace. For 35 years, she had perfectly masked her past. But that Tuesday morning, the mask would come off. It was 10:30 a.m. Eleanor was watering her orchids. Outside, sirens wailed as police cars raced past. Eleanor looked out the window. Something was happening in the city center. She turned on the television. Breaking news: terrorist attack. The federal building downtown is under siege. Multiple hostages have been taken. Eleanor's hands trembled, but she didn't stop watering the flowers. News continued on television. 3 terrorists, automatic weapons, over 40 hostages. Police had surrounded the building. Negotiations were ongoing. The terrorists are controlling the city from their position on the roof, the reporter said. They're positioned on top of the 12-story federal building. Police snipers haven't been able to find an effective angle yet. Eleanor stopped. She looked toward the roof. She could see the federal building, 800 meters away. That distance, that angle. Calculations began spinning in Eleanor's mind. New report on television. The terrorists have issued an ultimatum. If their demands aren't met within 1 hour, they'll begin killing hostages. Eleanor turned off the TV. She went upstairs, opened the locked room. After 30 years, she looked at that case again. Inside was a Barrett M82 sniper rifle, still in perfect condition, thanks to the maintenance Eleanor performed every night. When she took the rifle in her hands, Sergeant Hayes from 30 years ago returned. Steady hands, controlled breathing, clear mind. Eleanor closed the shop, hung a 6 sign. She got in her car, drove to the old water tower outside town, a 15-story concrete structure with a perfect view of the city. The federal building was directly across, distance 950 meters. She climbed to the roof of the water tower, took position. Through her scope, she examined the federal building. 3 terrorists on the roof, in strategic positions with automatic weapons. Wind from the west, speed 5 miles per hour. Eleanor made her calculations. She selected her first target, the leader, center position, most dangerous, most experienced looking. Eleanor held her breath, placed her finger on the trigger. The first shot came at 11:47 a.m. From 950 meters away, a single bullet, direct hit. The leader fell. The other 2 looked around in confusion. The second shot came 2 minutes later. The second terrorist was neutralized. The third man tried to use hostages as shields in panic, but Eleanor had faced such situations 30 years ago too. She waited patiently, and when the perfect angle came, she took the final shot. Within 3 minutes, all 3 terrorists were neutralized. Hostages were safe. The threat was over. Eleanor packed up her rifle, came down from the water tower. No one had seen her. No one had noticed. She got in her car, returned to her shop. When she turned on the television, news was continuing. Mysterious sniper neutralizes terrorists. Thanks to an unknown hero, 40 hostages were rescued. Eleanor turned off the TV, returned to her orchids, as if nothing had happened. In the afternoon, customers began arriving. Everyone was talking about the federal building incident. "Aunt Eleanor, did you hear?" said Emily, a young mother. "A sniper shot the terrorists. I wonder who it could be." Eleanor smiled. "I don't know, dear. What matters is that everyone is safe." "I wish we could find out who that hero was," said another customer. "I'd like to thank them." "Sometimes heroes don't want thanks," Eleanor said. "They just do what's right." When Eleanor closed the shop that evening, she looked toward the federal building. Lights were on. Life was returning to normal. 40 people would be able to go home safely. When she got home, she cleaned the rifle, put it in the case, locked the room. Old Eleanor Hayes disappeared again. Eleanor Whitmore returned. The next morning, she opened the shop as usual, watered her flowers, turned on the music, began her day. Everyone was still talking about the mysterious hero. Little Emma, 7 years old, came with her mother to buy roses. "Aunt Eleanor," Emma said, "I think you're that hero." Eleanor was surprised. "Why do you think that, sweetheart?" "Because you look very calm and strong, just like secret heroes." Eleanor knelt down, looked into Emma's eyes. "I'm just an old woman who sells flowers, Emma. Heroes are somewhere else. But you protect flowers too. Doesn't that count as heroism?" Eleanor smiled. Emma was right. Every day she protected her flowers, cared for them, kept their beauty alive. That was also a kind of heroism. "You're right, Emma. We're all heroes in our own way." That night, when Eleanor went up to her locked room, she looked at the old photographs. Young Sergeant Hayes in military uniform, stern gaze. Then she went downstairs, looked in the mirror. Eleanor Whitmore, florist, soft eyes, gentle. Both women were real. Both were valuable. Both were necessary. Eleanor Whitmore created life with flowers. Eleanor Hayes protected life. Same mission, different methods. At the Blooming Grace Flower Shop, there's now a special piece. Customers look at Eleanor differently, sensing she's not just a florist, but someone special. They don't know exactly why, but they feel it. Eleanor never brags, never tells the story. She just tends to her flowers, smiles at customers, continues living quietly. But now it's known that on the corner of Main Street, there's not just flowers, but protection too. Eleanor Whitmore's hands are as gentle as rose petals, as precise as a sniper's aim. This is Eleanor's story, but it's also the story of millions of secret heroes, retired soldiers, former police officers, people who lived different lives in the past. Now they work ordinary jobs, live quietly, but when needed, they show who they really are. Do you know people like Eleanor, those who are calm, gentle, but strong? Show them respect. Listen to their stories, because sometimes the most beautiful flowers have the strongest roots, and Eleanor Whitmore is both flower and root, both beauty and strength. The next time you visit a flower shop or see an elderly person working quietly in any profession, remember Eleanor's story. Behind that gentle smile, those steady hands arranging roses or serving coffee or teaching children, there might be someone who once served their country in ways most of us can't imagine. Eleanor spent 15 years defending freedom on foreign battlefields, then 35 years creating beauty on Main Street. Both were acts of service. Both protected what matters: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that lets a flower shop exist in peace. In a world that often overlooks the elderly, especially elderly women, Eleanor's story reminds us that wisdom and skill don't diminish with age. They just find new ways to serve. The precision that once guided bullets now guides pruning shears. The patience that once waited for the perfect shot now waits for the perfect bloom. Eleanor Whitmore represents countless men and women who've transitioned from military service to civilian life, carrying their skills quietly, using them only when absolutely necessary. They don't seek recognition or glory. They've already earned both in places most of us will never see, but they remain ready, always ready, because once a protector, always a protector. The flowers in Eleanor's shop are more than decorations. They're symbols of the peace her generation fought to preserve, the beauty that makes life worth protecting, the delicate things that require someone strong to guard them. Every day, Eleanor tends her garden. Every day, she stands ready to tend to more than flowers if the need arises. And in a world that seems increasingly dangerous, knowing that people like Eleanor Whitmore exist should give us all a little more peace. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember that heroes come in all forms, young and old, loud and quiet, obvious and hidden. Look around at the ordinary people doing ordinary jobs with extraordinary dedication. You might be surprised by what you discover. Every story is earned, not given, and every person serving others, whether with flowers or firearms, has earned our respect and gratitude.